So let's jump in. Chapter 3, verse 1. Behold, I will send my messenger. There's his name. I will send basically Malachi, and in this case, he shall prepare the way before me. And the Lord whom ye seek shall suddenly come to his temple, even the messenger of the covenant, whom ye delight in. Behold, he shall come, saith the Lord of hosts. Some of you are hearing in the back of your mind Handel's Messiah music playing, because this is one of those famous songs from that incredible oratorio. So notice this pattern. Before Jesus comes, there always seems to be somebody to come before to prepare the way, the messenger who's going to prepare that way. And there have been many messengers who have prepared the way before Jesus in his first coming. You could plug in John the Baptist here. Before his second coming, we're going to get all kinds of allusions here to Elijah, to John the Baptist again. You're going to get Moses in the Kirtland Temple. You get others who come to prepare the way for the coming of Christ. Now, that's all well and good for them and for us. But stop and think about that for a minute. What an amazing thing it would be if you and I started to see ourselves as a mini messenger of the Lord to help prepare the way for the coming of the Lord, not just into the world for the second coming, but into people's lives who maybe are struggling with sitting in darkness in one degree or another. To actually start taking this personally and saying, what could I do to actually apply these scriptures and go and make a difference in preparing the way for the Lord to be welcomed into a home, into a life, into a marriage, into a workplace, into a ward, or into all kinds of other settings. Just something to consider as you move forward.
So as Tyler mentioned, one of those examples, there can be multiple fulfillments of who this messenger could be that will prepare the way before the coming of the Lord. The Savior himself interpreted one passage, or gave us one possible interpretation. In Matthew 11, he was discussing with his disciples the work and mission of John the Baptist. And in verse 7, he asks them, as they departed, Jesus began to say unto the multitude concerning John, what went you out to see, and what went you out in the wilderness to see? And then he uses the Malachi passage in verse 10. For this is he of whom it is written, Behold, I send my messenger before thy face, which shall prepare thy way before thee. So at least one of these fulfillments, according to the Savior himself, is John the Baptist. But I think your point is well taken, Tyler. That's not the only fulfillment. John the Baptist himself seems to have multiple fulfillments of this. He comes again in the restoration, as does, of course, Elijah and other messengers sent by the Lord.
Absolutely. So if we come down to verse 2 now, it says, But who may abide the day of his coming? So the messengers come before that day of the Lord, and now he's asking this question, so who's going to abide? Who's going to be able to stand there in the presence of the Lord when he comes? Who shall stand when he appeareth? For he is like a refiner's fire and like fuller's soap. Can you see the Hebrew poetic symbolism coming through here? The repetition of this symbolism? Malachi is coming up with what are the two most intensely purifying things that he could possibly use that would connect with these people. And if you think through it, a refiner's fire, they all get that. Ooh, that burns so hot that it removes all the dross and iniquity out of this metal. And the fuller's soap is that really strong acidic soap that's going to wash clothes that have become soiled and stained. And so he shall sit as a refiner and purifier of silver, and he shall purify the sons of Levi and purge them as gold and silver, that they may offer unto the Lord an offering in righteousness, which means it's probably going to hurt. If you're going to purify silver and gold, it means you have to turn up the heat significantly. You have to melt it down in order to be able to get those impurities out of those precious metals, so that what started as precious with some flaws in it now becomes even more precious. I wonder if sometimes when you and I go through intense furnace of affliction and trials, if that isn't the sign not of divine disfavor, but perhaps of divine love and chesed again, where God is saying, oh, yes, you're precious, but I need to make you even more pure, more holy, which means he has to turn up the heat in order to soften us and make us meek, to be able to actually let go of some of those impurities that have become so embedded within our soul.
I like that, Tyler, because in the Malachi context, it seems to be talking about the sons of Levi. And yet, in the restoration, this passage gets expanded to all of us, as you're doing. So a couple of places you might consider turning. In section 84 of the Doctrine and Covenants, the Lord said through the prophet Joseph Smith, he references this passage in section 84, verse 31, "Therefore, as I said concerning the sons of Moses, for the sons of Moses and also the sons of Aaron, of the tribe of Levi, shall offer an acceptable offering and sacrifice in the house of the Lord." They will offer an offering again. But then it expands who can be part of the sons of Moses and sons of Aaron. You don't have to be just Levi. If you look in verse 33, "For whoso is faithful unto the obtaining these two priesthoods of which I have spoken, the Aaronic and Melchizedek, and magnifying their calling, are sanctified by the Spirit unto the renewing of their bodies, they become the sons of Moses and of Aaron, and the seed of Abraham, and the church and kingdom, and the elect of God." That it's not just the sons of Levi who are going to be purged. It's all of us who, as we receive the priesthoods in our lives and magnify our callings, will be sanctified, will be purified, and we can participate in the offering. And then the Doctrine and Covenants throughout makes multiple references to what that offering may be. Obviously, there were some discussions in the early period of the restoration that it could be, offerings like Adam did when he left the garden. There's passages by Joseph Smith and others potentially talking about that possibility. I love in the Restoration a passage in the Doctrine and Covenants, section 128, which is an epistle Joseph Smith wrote in Nauvoo, where he gives a different interpretation to what the offering may be. You'll notice he's referring to Malachi again, section 128, verse 24. "Behold, the great day of the Lord is at hand, and who can abide the day of his coming?" We just read that passage. "And who can stand when he appeareth? For he is like a refiner's fire and like fuller's soap, and he shall sit as a refiner and purifier of silver." He's quoting Malachi. "And he shall purify the sons of Levi and purge them as gold and silver, that they may offer unto the Lord an offering in righteousness." Then Joseph adds, "Let us, therefore, as a church and a people, and as Latter-day Saints, offer unto the Lord an offering in righteousness. And let us present in his holy temple, when it is finished, a book containing the records of our dead, which shall be worthy of all acceptation." Our work for the dead is an offering in righteousness that we can offer to the Lord, something we can make sacred, we can make holy, and in some ways fulfill the prophecy in Malachi that the sons of Levi, the sons of Moses and Aaron, those who have accepted his covenants, will offer offerings again in the latter days.
I love that, because that's something that every one of us can do. We can all try a little harder to be a little better in our temple and family history efforts, where we can make that offering to the Lord, and it's not a burden. It's not this grievous, "Oh, great, I have to go to the temple." It's, are you serious? God is actually opening the doors to his house on the earth and letting me come in to do work for kindred dead, to become a little bit more like the Savior by becoming a Savior on Mount Zion, and to make this offering in righteousness. What a privilege. What an amazing, tender mercy that God has granted us in these efforts.
Well, and it's not just you and I and those in our age group. You may remember a talk Elder Bednar gave a few years ago in General Conference, where he spoke directly to the youth, the children, and invited them to participate in the spirit of Elijah, as he describes it. This work on behalf of our ancestors can bless our youth, can bless our homes, can bless our children. It's not just those of, I guess I'm the only one here who has gray hair, but those of us with gray hair. So.